talking to somebody else and you think, why are you doing that? And you begin to question whether they really like you or not. And that is really dangerous. So I think that is the main one. Do you agree?
For sure, Adam. For sure. So
So when we say jealous, do you mean jealous? Jealousy can be, you can be jealous like from another person. Is not to your partner, but you are here talking about your partner. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then they begin to start asking, bombarding you with questions like, where did you go yesterday? Who were you with? Why didn't you call me last night? And that's because they're obsessed with you, and they say they love you, but it's not really very healthy. So I think that to establish trust is the important thing, and that takes time until you get to know somebody. For example, I was in a relationship where it was, where are you going? And it's like, yeah, I'm going down to take the rubbish out to the street. Why did you come home 10 minutes late? And it was, and this was, and that began to, I was realizing that this is no good. This is no good. So, I had to put an end to it. And that was terrible, because after that, there was kind of an explosion of hate and nasty messages, and it started very nicely, but then it turned into a nightmare.
Yes.
And that was because of jealousy.
So how can we define toxic? What do we mean about toxic things?
Well, it makes you suffer, and it's like toxic means you're being poisoned slowly. And maybe also that one partner in the relationship is trying to control you and everything that you do, and not giving you your freedom, and lack of respect for the other person's freedom. And that is not good, because it depends what you want from a relationship. I think most people want a happy relationship, but very often that doesn't happen, unfortunately. And I don't know why. Okay, I'm speaking from experience.
So you are a very experienced man. So what kind of relationships do we have? Like, can you give us an example of one of them? And how it could be ruined when we have a relationship? We have different relationships. But what is the first reason to ruin a relationship? Is it toxic?
Okay. As I said, the lack of trust, and also not respecting the other person's freedom, and controlling.
Yes.
And controlling is terrible. But the problem is, when you're in a relationship and you like the other person, the problem is you get used to it. And so you begin to think that that's normal, and you take it like a very passive role, and you sort of put up with it. And then it becomes normal, and you think that that's normal, but in fact it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's dreadful, and you want to break off the relationship, but then again, if you do that, then you end up alone, and you don't have the love that you had before. But you have to think of you have to think of your own survival and and it's better to stop it then before you suffer anymore. And the effect is that next time you meet somebody, you have that experience, and you're much more careful, I think.
So, okay.
But then again, as you said before, not all relationships are like this. I mean, this is quite a negative view of it. I'll give you an example from my parents.
Yeah.
When my mother was in love with an Air Force pilot years and years and years ago, and he was killed in an accident, and she was heartbroken. And then my father came to town, and he was buying her flowers, and she thought he was a pain in the neck. So it wasn't really a happy beginning. It's like, my goodness, doesn't this man leave me alone? But eventually,
Oh,
yeah, my father, yeah, he was a pain in the neck. So eventually, my mother said, "Okay, I'll go out with you. Let it is." And
yeah.
it wasn't really a happy beginning, but there
Yes.
was an attachment there that lasted all their life. And so
Mhm.
it didn't never turn into an emotional vacuum. It was the opposite. It was an emotional vacuum at the beginning, and then it was the other way
Thank
around.
God.
It went to realization that this is something special. Then they became very
Yes.
attached, and there was a happy end. So then the other way around, and that was not toxic. So I think they were really lucky.
Mm, that's really great.
So
So,
what do you define as toxic?
well, the lack of trust. This is the first thing. Jealousy. Lots of things like not understood things.
Yeah.
No non-cultural people. The lack of education. Uh, like a lot of people can't think really well, can't give apologies really well. So that's a really big issue. So how can we define like relationships? So, or what's
Oof.
the most efficient ways to build a really communicative skill in the relationship itself?
Well, you're asking me for a difficult answer.
I know it's a difficult
Oh
answer.
dear me.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give you a theory. Okay, let me give
Hmm.
you a
Yeah.
theory. Okay,
Yes.
there is a theory, and I can't remember the man who invented it, but it seems to work. Okay, and it
Hmm.
describes four stages of human development from when you're a child to when you're an adult. And so
Yes.
when you're a child till about the age of 11 in the West anyway, you're still learning basic things like what is good and what is bad. And for example, if you touch something that's hot, you get burnt. So you learn not to do it again. Okay? And you're usually interested in cartoons and little fairy stories. But then the hormones
Hmm.
begin to start in your body when you become a teenager, and you go into
Yeah.
another phase which is called the romantic period.
Hmm.
Now, the romantic period is when you begin to take interest in other people, but you're
Yes.
also very, very insecure because you want people to like you. And so you
Okay.
will find that teenagers are saying, "Oh, this person is my best friend." And usually girls say, "Oh, I love this boy so much. He's just perfect, even though he's not." And they're looking at something that's ideal as an ideal, like, say, relationship for the future. They're thinking of something that's going to last forever, like a fairy tale. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So it's like
during that,
a stage. I'm sorry. So it's like a stage looking for the best reason to hook up with this person.
yeah. And they do. And they meet
Hmm.
people, and then they get disappointed because they find out that this is not reality. And they get battered and bruised, and their friends disappoint them, or they disappoint other people. And then they go, when they're about 20, 21, 22, they will go into another phase, which is called the philosophical phase. When they've gone through all this and they think, okay, what am I going to do in the future? I'm going to build my future. I'm going to be very careful who I choose.
Hmm.
Maybe I want to buy a house. Maybe I want to form a family. And then
Yeah.
when you get to my age, you're in a stage called the ironic stage. And ironic means that you don't believe anything. Okay, you don't believe all this
Oh.
romance and all this stuff. It's called the ironic phase.
Yes.
And that's when you don't believe anybody. And I think but you still want to have a relationship because I think everybody does, but you're just much more careful. So those are the kinds of phases that go through. And so you're still looking for a happy beginning and an attachment, as in the picture you have here. But you're being very, very careful, okay? And immediately when you find it becomes toxic and it's not what you want, you stop it. I think when you're a teenager and in like 18, 19, 20, you don't have that experience, so you can get into a lot of trouble. And as you
Yeah.
get older, then that doesn't really happen that much, I don't think. But that's my opinion. That's my personal opinion.
Well, it's a different world where you lived in Europe, uh,
Yeah.
and here in Middle East, it's really different. We learned
I met.
on like a religious cultural thing. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
to talk to a girl unless you turned 25 or something else like that.
Okay.
It's like a really
Yeah.
hard
No.
way to build a relationship. So it's like you build a relationship with your friend, with your boyfriend. You don't have like a real girl you can talk to. You can like in schools where in the like in Europe, England, USA, these worlds.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Good evening to you
And then you've
guys.
got related.
May I interrupt?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, safe. Welcome.
Hello there.
Oh,
Can you guys hear
Hey,
me?
safe. This is safe, guys.
we can
Yes,
hear you.
hello,
Who
Smart.
are
Thank
you?
you. Right. Looks like we have some English guy, Adam. I think you're not Iraqi, are you?
No, I'm not Iraqi. Taj Rasi.
Yes. Oh my God, did you just speak it in Iraqi? That was cute. Yeah, I can tell through your accent. I was like, hey, is that Iraqi person trying to speak some British accent gonna be my rival? But turns out that's not. Anyways, sorry for interrupting you guys. So, as Sajjad was saying, so society like is built differently over here. You see that both genders are being separated since primary school, and that made a lot of issues in the communicating between genders, and like there is a lot of why is that? There's a lot of reasons, including some religious reasons, some beliefs and traditions. But what
Mhm.
makes the new generation different is that it's more open to the world. Like, you know, since the 2003 events happened and we had
Mm-hmm.
the internet, all of that, people were surprised of how the people
Yeah.
outside Iraq are living. It's not bad as it seems, and turns out not every truth that we have been told in religions is absolute. There is something. There is a gray color. There is not only like black and white and all of this. So yeah, so as a teenager, you grow in this society. You try to change your principles. You learn that not everything you have been told is right. So you're gonna have a trouble. And what is that? If you listen to your parents and your society, you're never gonna talk to any girls unless you go to college. Yeah, because where do you see them? You don't talk to them in the street. That is not allowed. But in college,
Yeah.
there's boys and girls, all of that. So you have to be a little bit sneaky, like let's say, step on the principles that have been planted in you. Let's say, like
Mhm.
you try to hit on girls, or you text them, and society have been telling you that is not right thing to do. So we're gonna figure out, hey, it's not that bad. So we're gonna try to develop a new point of if
Yes.
you that is the let's say it's about confidence. It's about willing to step out of the comfort zone to figure out what is right and what is wrong. So you're gonna have two types of people when you go to college. There is one type that is social, that is comfort with the both genders. Like he wouldn't fall in love for the first
Yes.
minute a girl would talk to him. And I
Yes.
wouldn't call that person. Sorry, yes, trying to say something. Yes, Sajjad.
No, no, no. Complete. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that guy is most likely is a bad guy. Have been trying to take advantage of girls and all of this because he understood the other sides, like
Yeah.
the other point of view that is different from society. Like, hey, I should be bad. I should do the opposite, always the opposite. So it's gonna be really difficult to find out what is the right thing because imagine you grow up on certain religion and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
suddenly find out not everything that you've been told is right. So your whole life gonna change suddenly. Yeah, and on the other
So
hand, the other types
We are
is the people.
we are talking about like how to build a really communicative skill between a relationship, like between a man and a woman, and how to keep it not toxic at all. So how can we do that? Do you have an answer
Well,
for
listen.
that?
Well, can I say
Okay, so
something?
Jeffers.
All right. I think
Before you say
yeah,
anything, Adam, excuse me.
yeah.
Actually, I was getting there. You just interrupted me and ruined my whole idea. Anyways, yeah. Let's. What are you saying, Adam? Go ahead.
What you were saying about what's happening in the culture in Iraq. Okay,
Yeah, I'm just
I
explaining to you
saw.
exclusively because
Yeah, I
you're
know.
not from Iraq, so just to make sense. Yeah,
No, I
go ahead.
know, I know. But the thing is, I
Yeah.
lived in Saudi Arabia for 4 years before I came here, and I saw how society changed from 2017 until now. And
It's like worse or better.
it depends on
What's
your point
better?
of view. For example, when I first went there, you would never see a woman alone ever outside. You would only see them in a mall and you would never see their face. But then everything changed. And I'll just tell you a story. I used to travel in Riyadh with Uber, you know, the private taxi companies. And the drivers were usually young Saudi boys, maybe 20 years old, and they were earning a bit of extra money. And one of them said to me, my goodness, he said, since the women are allowed out alone, he said they're always calling for Uber. And I said, oh, well, that's good. He said, well, not exactly, because I'm married. And I said, well, you know, what's that got to do with it? And he said to me, well, he said, these women who are not happy in their marriages will call me and ask me, take me to a mall or take me somewhere, and they will ask for my phone number. And he said, I said, well, you don't have to give it to them. He said, well, yes, I do, because if not, they will accuse me of trying to hit on them. So his phone.
So they do.
Yeah.
They do have harm things.
Exactly. And he said, and it's happening all the time, and that was in
Okay.
Saudi Arabia. And then another man said to me, you need to go to the boulevard. I said, well, what for? And it's this place that was built especially for cafes and things. And he said, because there you can go and meet
foreign
women.
people.
No, no, for Saudis. No, Saudis were doing this all the time, but they were not allowed to do it before. So they were not looking for a happy beginning at all. They were not looking for a relationship. They were looking for a quick one-night stand with somebody. And both women and men were doing exactly the same. And that's what's happening in Saudi now. So I just thought I'd tell you that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a relationship. And is that toxic or not? Or is that just human nature?
Yeah, well, I think we're talking about different subject, but it's a complex things that just like a chain. One thing is linked to another. Let me tell you an interesting fact, Adam. Did you know that in the 70s in Iraq, women used to have way more freedom than now? Religion was not that popular. And they get to go wherever they want. They were being respected, and like even the mindset of the whole society was something really different. I don't know what happened at the period. I think it has to do with politics, the changes, because so many rulers that came to Iraq and so many events, and the fact that we have been isolated from the whole world for like a decade. That is not something easy to get over, especially with the older generations. So that created some sort of gap between Generation Z, and the olders with their parents. Like, so imagine being raised in that changing environment, and then you have to adapt with the new environment for your own kids. It is difficult. You have to really have some open-minded mindsets, and I think that's really the key in terms of accepting the developing nature of how society is changing. And there is nothing bad in developing and getting forward, and I think that what makes society grow. and that's what's happening in the newer generations. The newer generations, the more, let's say, open they're getting, the more understanding of the worlds, of the whole world, not only Muslim versus not Muslim. Like, it's way more complex. So let me tell you another thing. I know I'm talking a lot. It doesn't happen that people listen to me in English, so it's something really fun. Yeah. The first time I was talking to North Iraqi, let's say, girl, I was really impressed and surprised by how polite she was, by how educated, and like I was like, "Hey, wait a second, how is that possible?" Let me text another one. So when I tried to get to know people like in different countries, it turns out that hey, it's not as bad as we have been told. It's just a really sad fact about the
Yeah.
whole Middle East, like. They draw a certain image about the different people, so it's gonna make you afraid of changing, afraid of accepting different. You see, that's why people in the Middle East who travel are the most, let's say, people with open mindset. They are really willing to, accept any facts that will get them to somewhere, let's say, higher, to someone better. They wouldn't hold absolutely into something just because of narcissism. So linking that to relationships, understanding and being open, communication is definitely, you guys mentioned that before, is one of the keys
Wait, what's your
in early
name?
relationships. Mhm.
So what's your name? Can you introduce us?
Oh yeah, of course. My name is Saif Adam, but you can call me Saif.
Okay, Dave.
Oh, say.
can I
It's
ask
like
you-
a sword.
Can I ask you all a question?
Okay, listening.
Okay.
All right.
In your experience, and you've met a lot of people and you've met couples in your life and you've probably had relationships. Of all the relationships that you've come across, what percentage of those would you describe as bad or toxic or harmful? Because maybe we're talking about a small percentage, or are we talking about 90% of them? And I have a theory. There is an expression in English called to have the 7-year itch. And basically, it's a theory that says after 7 years in a relationship, you begin to start to look for something else because you're bored.
Yeah.
And you want some more excitement, you want to try something different. And is that toxic, or is that just how we are? So there's two questions there. How many relationships that are bad, and do you believe in this 7-year kind of limit to them?
Well,
That's a good
first
question.
of all,
So, right, go ahead, Sajjad.
I didn't catch the question. Could you repeat it?
Is it?
Yeah, how many relationships, between people that you know or your own, what percentage of the relationships that you've come across have been harmful to one of the people or both of them in that relationship, do you think? That's the first question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Ahmed, go ahead.
Hey, Sajjad, how are you? Well, I don't know. All I heard was you talking about toxic relationships. The volume was too low, so I didn't get that quiet.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so the toxic relationships, it depends on the personality of the person and relationship. So
Is it?
most of the Iraqi people have psychological issues.
Yeah.
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 You know what I mean, Sajjad. So
You mean like non-cultural people or not well educated?
no, it's the not educated people.
Psychological
They're not-
issue, just like submissions issue, narcissism issue, or narcissism, I mean, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's because the environment around them is like that. The Middle Eastern men try to size the relationship. So every relationship depends on two people. the male and the female. Okay.
It could be like between two males. It could be your partner.
Yeah, okay, let's go. But if
Okay.
they don't have communication or understand them between them, well, that relationship is doomed.
So it's like a skill.
What? I can't hear that.
So it's like a skill. They should have this skill to communicate well
Listen,
between them.
You need to communicate with your partner to improve your quality of your relationship and your life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
imagine this. Imagine
yeah.
being amazing.
Every
and
relationship,
beautifully.
every relationship need a communication, a good heart, and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can't just stand on he did this and he did that. You must be forgiven to live.
Let me say something, okay?
Your voice is going on.
Can I?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
We can, yes.
Adam,
we can
I can hear you, but I can't listen to Ahmed.
I
Guys.
worked in sales for some years, and we had a training once, and this guy said to us, you have these clients, and if you do not look after your clients, somebody else will. And I thought, yeah, and that's exactly the same with your relationship. If you don't look after it, like you have this happy beginning, and as Maha said at the beginning, it's flowers and text messages and going out for dinner and all that. But if you do not continue to do that from both sides, then that relationship goes down the drain. And I think that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is
So guys,
basic thing, but
guys, I
you're
have
going to get
another
to part of
question.
relationship that after years.
Yes, safe.
Where are you been?
Guys, I want to suggest something, by the way,
Okay.
so that we give some space for people, everyone over here, to give their opinion. How we make it a basic question rather than a debate. You know, debate is like we're talking overall, but I'm watching people getting in and leaving without expressing their ideas. So let's just start one by one by a basic question, which is how do you know? And I think this is the most important question. How do you know if the person that you're in a relationship with is the right person? Yeah, I like. Of course, you want to make sure that all of the love that you're willing to give is for someone worth it. Because we can all express love, we can all take care of them, we can all do whatever it takes. But is it for the right person? So I think the conclusion of all the debates is ending in this part. And let's start with Rahma. She have been listening for like half an hour, I think, before I even join in. Yes, join us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Hi, hello everyone. I hope you're all doing good. Well, actually, I was not really following your conversation, but I just joined. I left and rejoined again. But
Yes.
regarding the topic, I just wanted to add something, which is, I do believe that maybe one of the biggest red flag ever in a relationship, it might be being insecure, because if one of the partners is insecure,
Your voice
he's
is
gonna
really
try
loud.
his
You raise
best.
it.
Oh,
Voice,
alright.
yeah,
What
voice
about
not
now?
clear.
Is it clear
Okay.
now?
Yes.
Yes,
Alright,
a little better.
Okay. I was saying that one of the biggest flag when it comes to relationships is being insecure, because if one of the partners is insecure and having zero confidence about himself, he would do his best to trying so hard to break his partner and breaking his and he's not gonna really like feel comfortable seeing the others being successful and everything. So that might be one of the biggest insecure, and it's most likely to be applied on men, because men are not actually being comfortable being around women, while on the contrary, women have no idea. While on the contrary, women have no problem being around men, because the women would feel more safe being around strong men. So
Mhm.
so that's the first point that I wanted to clarify. And also, I do see nowadays relationships are just full of narcissism, manipulation, and just trying so hard to control the other, which is um, not gonna really work eventually. And yeah, what else? Actually, my sister, as always, she's annoying. So she just خربت سلسلة أفكاري. So, but that's actually what I was trying to say. That's the main point. Yeah.
Rahma, as you a girl, let me
Yes.
ask you a question. So,
Mhm.
are you agree with the
Yeah.
idea that I'm talking about Iraqi girl, that the girl, especially in Iraq, it's okay to make uh, like many relationships just to be familiar with toxic people. Are you okay with this idea? What do you think? Is it okay to
Yeah,
be
I'm
familiar
okay
with
with it
this?
as long as she know how to set boundaries, because it depends on everyone's beliefs and the way he's been raised. For me, I don't really like being into many relationships, because I do believe that it's all the same. But yeah, if I wanted to, I would set boundaries. And just to let you something, I do believe that in a relationship, it's always the girl who gonna set the boundaries. That's why I hate, and I'm just sick and tired of these things, because with all due respect to all men here, but uh, most likely men have no boundaries. Like they're only like waiting for the girl to set the boundaries, and if she not really gonna set them, so they have no problem in just crossing the limits and going so far with the relationship, even if it's just a friendship. So I would always recommend my female friends to set the boundaries from the beginning of the relationship, because if she's not, then it's really gonna end in a bad way. It's gonna end terribly. So yeah.
I also agree with this idea. It's okay to
What
be
about you? Maha, what do you think?
for sure. I totally agree. It's okay to make it's okay to have like many times or relationships just to be familiar, because you need to understand like how men thinking, okay, and to know about toxic people, because like a bad experience help you to know people more and more, okay. And as you mentioned, when you put such boundaries or red flags, it's gonna be okay. And not only in love relationships, and also in friendships, in whole relationships in our life. So yes, I totally agree with you. And well, guys, the people or toxic people, I think they behave in a toxic way, maybe because they have lack of respect, or they have inner struggling or emotional, like they have emotional struggling, or because they have unequal give and take, or because of their family, like the problems in their family. What do you think? Why do we have toxic people? What do you think?
For me, it's all about confidence. Trust me. A confident man, a confident woman would not at all be toxic, because if you are like, if you lack of confidence and you're really insecure and you see, and the only thing you see is your insecurities, you're gonna be so toxic. You're gonna be so jealous. You're not gonna trust people because you are hating yourself. So of course you're not gonna love other people. You're gonna hate them also. So please date or marry confident people. Date strong women. Don't date weak women. And then you're just gonna be always hate women or hate men. That's because of your choice. You're choosing weak women or men and you want to get control of them and to manipulate them. Then you're just gonna cry and say, "Oh, what a bad relationship," and so just choose well, choose a strong, confident
Well, if
person,
I
and
can
that's
say,
all.
you can choose anybody you want, okay? But you need to watch out for some things, like if he's jealous too much or controlling, or you feel exhausted by them or drained and you don't have a power after being with them with some time, or they don't respect your boundary, please get out of that relationship immediately,
I agree.
because they isolate you from your friends, your family, your community, from everything you love. They become like dominant on your whole life. Do this, don't do that. You don't talk
Ahmed,
to me much.
Ahmed,
Close your
Ahmed,
phone. Show me you. They don't even respect your privacy.
So
Yeah,
you
Ahmed,
have
that's
an
because of
example.
lack of confidence also,
yes.
again.
Ahmed, have you ever been in a toxic relationship or witnessed one? You can talk, it's okay.
Well, I've been in toxic relationship like 10 years ago. It was, I don't know
A
how to
disaster
describe it.
with your friends or girlfriend.
Well, with the friends, the Iraqi community, if you say this is like a toxic relationship, they'll laugh at you because they feel like this is funny, guy, and don't do that. Like, don't answer your phone on, don't talk to your wife too much, and don't allow her to like control your life and to be with us. Don't be with them. The friends community in Iraq, like it's like that. But the relationships, I don't know. There's some guys or there are some girls like they want to dominate your whole life, your phone, your privacy, the clocking, the depending on you. Like you feel drained. You don't have more energy to talk with anyone because of them. So this is like the most depressive relationship I ever been with. Some girl 10 years ago. She was like, "Oh my God, why are you sleeping? Come on,
So
get up. I want
let
to
me
talk
tell
to you.
you
Yeah,
something.
sleep. I want to talk to you."
Okay,
So it's like just
Well,
what Adam said.
the relationship must depends on the two-person in the relationship, not just one.
Adam, are
Like,
you here? We can't hear you well.
hello.
Adam,
Yes, I can
me,
hear you.
guys? Yes.
so
Yeah,
what do
his
you think
voice is
about what
clear.
Ahmed
Maybe
said?
it's your connection, Sajjad.
Okay, do you hear me, guys?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, Adam.
The, the internet is really bad.
Okay.
Like,
Some years ago. Yeah, I know. It sucks, doesn't it, in Iraq? I know. Anyway, so no, some years ago, somebody said something to me that made sense. It was like, and we were talking before about choosing the right person. The problem with that is to choose the right person, you really need to get to know them because you don't know them just because of their appearance and a few nice words and they look nice and whatever. That's not getting to know them. You don't know what's inside. And that takes time. And somebody described this as when two people meet, they're like two diamonds. But these diamonds have not been cut, they're rough. They've recently been mined. So they're two pieces of rock. And what they do is they get to know each other. They begin to hit each other and discuss and agree and disagree. And as they do it, they begin to kind of shape the diamond. And if you're lucky, you will end up with two beautiful diamonds that fit together really, really well. But that takes time. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of understanding and the will to do it. And that's like kind of difficult, and that's where things begin to. When you get to know that person, I don't think you can know them in a very short space of time, and that's when things begin to go wrong. That's when it becomes toxic. But that's my point of view.
So let me tell you something, guys. Okay, I want to
Well,
be
that
honest
was
with you.
that was a good point.
So we have a
That
topic.
was a nice point.
For me, there's a button. Toxic people.
Yes, Batman, you haven't spoken. Go ahead.
Oh
Well,
no, well, I don't have anything to talk
I
about.
was saying that there's a pattern in toxic people.
Oh, Hadi.
Yeah.
Speak. I'm listening. Everyone listening.
I know. I just said what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Can you repeat
Go ahead.
this? I didn't hear you well. I said there's a pattern in toxic people. Just that. Okay.
I can't
Okay,
hear you
do you
well.
hear me, guys?
Pattern. Yes, we do, Maha.
Okay. Well, Rahman mentioned something concerning the right choice. Well, I think, okay, I had a toxic relationships before 4 months ago, so I finished it recently, and you cannot imagine how it hurt me a lot. So it was my friend, and he was a good guy, and we were sharing like everything, but I couldn't be able to know that he's a toxic. So it is not a matter of right choice, okay? So I think you cannot recognize that the guy is a toxic like by choice. Is that right?
Well, you can recognize if he's toxic, if he's manipulative, or is he expecting you to do what the hell they want? Like always try to control
But he
your
was
life.
treating me well, okay? He respects me, and he encouraged me, and we were sharing everything. But at the end, okay, at the end, guess what he told me? I can marry you because don't want to get married because I'm Iraqi, and like marriage in Iraq is something foolish. Shocked.
Well, I don't know. May I answer? I disagree with you with the matter of knowing or having this close to know if the person trying to date is the right person. What do we mean by person trying to date is the right person? Is that getting to actually know them? According to psychology, you're gonna need at least 9 months. So how long have you been together? Is it a year? And sometimes even that is not enough. It's not about time. Imagine meeting someone. Like, have you ever experienced that? You meet someone for like a short period and you get to know each other like no one did it before. You feel like you're getting so well. So time is relevant over here. It depends on the person. But the point is the building a progress. You can't judge someone and say this toxic, this. It doesn't work like that. I wish if it was that simple that we pick some features and like, hey, he have that, then he's toxic. He doesn't do that, then humans, as we do know, are human, like a complex human being. So the point is building process. You have to get to know each other's, and in order to do that, you're gonna have to have some pure intentions. So by doing that, it's going to take you a lot of time. It's going to take you a lot of effort. And Adam mentioned something, the development of way of communication. You're going to disagree in some stuff. You're going to like exchange ideas, and maybe he think the opposite of you. So having that actual conversation is what's going to build the relationship itself, because it is going to be built on understanding, on communication, on being honest. But in this case, when you develop a feeling before getting to know the person, that's when things get wrong, get across so easily.
وقال شوية انزل ما اسمع صوت انزل انزل بس اكمل
Biased, I like to call it. If you like a person, you're gonna try to convince yourself that person is right for you. That person is perfect, even though he's obviously not. Let me give an example to make things clear. So, you know that feeling when you like try to remember the relationship that you got into, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, how can I fall for that person? Exactly, because you're looking at from other point of view. So the more logic that you put into the way that you look at things, the more it's going to make sense, the more you're going to be careful. Yeah, so it's a matter, like I said, in conclusion, it's a matter of building slowly. It's a progress, you cannot hurry up. Being careful, yeah.
So let's just like trust issues, all right? So you are saying that just for trust issues. So what about jealousy to prevent, to avoid the toxic things in this relationship and to prevent it? What about the jealousy? How can we like to deal with the jealousy in the
Deal with
relationship?
jealousy.
Well,
Yeah.
jealousy is healthy, but
To a certain point,
I'm not saying
to a
between
certain
women,
point, we can't.
from a man to a woman.
Yeah, Gaia, but you know what? Jealousy itself is part of love. Like imagine you love someone, you're not jealous about them at all, even in your own yourself. Do you really love them? We're all jealous for the people that we love, but
To a certain point, to a certain degree. If it exceeds
Exactly.
that, it's going to be a problem. Yeah, it's going to be more controlling. But how do you deal with that? Let's think for a second. Do you actually believe that people are like born bad? There's no such things. We have to understand why do they get that jealous. And if you actually sit with them and talk and
Well,
be like, hey, do you realize that no matter if you put me in 1,000 women, I wouldn't cheat on you. If I want to, I would. About this now, but do you realize they try to
Yes.
stand with logic, try to make them understand that a person who really loves you would cheat on you. What was the point of jealousy? So they are insecure. You're gonna understand that no matter how logic that you put in your conversation, they just don't understand that, and they are insecure. We try to deal with their insecurity issues by assuring them, by teaching them. So we all should consider the psychological issues
No.
that people suffer from.
تعال شوي كمل.
So would you believe me if I told you I've never met a person
that doesn't have some, at least one psychological issues. So some people have trust issues. People have some submission issues. Others are narcissism. So you can't expect the person to be perfect.
بس خليك كمل تعال شوي حبيبي ليش لا تضيع
It's all about I'm sorry, communication and like chatting and telling them and like trying to help them. But I think the really toxic, I wouldn't call it toxic, the really bad thing is that when they don't listen, when they deny, when they don't hold you accountable, when they just get in the defensive position, like you told them, hey, that was wrong because what if you were like, oh my god, you don't like me, I thought we had been together. Come on, I'm trying to make sense of it. That's when it gets really difficult. You have to ask yourself, are you really willing to keep trying to make them understand? Or you just get tired?
It's all about communication between the two parts.
Exactly.
Yeah, you must throw your feeling and try to talk them.
Yeah, you have to
You must know why they have a trusting issue in the first place. Can I ask you a question?
I guess because of the lack of awareness in relationships in Iraq, I think there's not much awareness about how to deal with the relationships in general.
Well, I don't think you. I think you have to learn this bit by bit. I don't think anybody can actually teach you. I think you have to learn it and from experience. I'm going to ask you all a question.
Exactly.
Imagine you're in a relationship.